The town of Castell has changed. Magic has bled through its streets and invited those worthy enough to quest for fame and fortune. Cailana of the Spark Syndicate and Agoloth the Doomwhisperer have beckoned its call. Portals to an unknown realm have opened, and our wizards are either brave or foolish enough to enter and discover unholy and demonic secrets. Hello folks, and welcome to Dice Chatter. Frostgrave Season 2 finale is here, and this time both our wizards have a chance to claim victory in hell. Agoloth the Doomwhisperer and Cailana of the Spark Syndicate will face off against one another, but an old foe will do what he can to stop them. Durgareth the Demon and his apprentice, Terry, will lead a small battalion of demonic forces against our two heroes. Before we get into the game, we will cover the wizards, their spells, the warband they have hired, the scenario, and any other pre-game shenanigans. So without further ado, let's dive in. Oh, and also check out skirmish mats. They are awesome. More information about them at the end of the video. We will start with Agoloth the Doomwhisperer and his apprentice Reggie. Necromancy is their game, and we shall see if their magical prowess will continue in the wastelands of hell. For their warband, we have a brutish barbarian, a treasure hunter, a tracker, Esmeralda the apothecary, a zombie leftover from last encounter, and a number of thieves and thugs to round out the list. Cailana of the Spark Syndicate and her apprentice Alan will see what they can accomplish focusing on the Enchantment School of Magic. Bolstering up their warband needs to be enough if they can make it out of hell alive. For their warband, we have two strong knights, one named Sir Gareth, so thank you to my wonderful patron Hugo for naming this fighter. Also a ranger, a treasure hunter, an infantryman, and a number of thieves and thugs to round out the list. And quickly I will cover the third wizard and apprentice for the scenario, Durgareth the Demon and his pal Terry, each of them focusing on the Summoner School of Magic. We will go into more detail on these two in just a moment. Moving on over to the scenario, we have a custom setup once again for our finale. We shall call it Stairway to Hell. Make sure to set up the table with a series of stairs and levels leading up to a shrine at the peak of the table. This is where we will place the central treasure as well as our devilish wizard and apprentice. Also make sure to place two other treasures on a lower platform so that our heroes must make a reasonable effort to reach them. And don't forget, on the two table corners, place a single portal. This is where our wizards and their warbands will set up to start the scenario. The goal for each wizard is to gather up a majority of the treasures and escape with their lives. A treasure can only be captured and removed off the table through a portal, not the table's edge. Whoever collects a majority of the treasures wins the battle. Also, the first time a treasure is picked up, a demon will spawn, and on a 15+, a major demon will spawn. And these demons will be under Durgareth's control once they are summoned on the battlefield. And one final touch, Durgareth will roll initiative as well and act in all of your standard phases alongside our heroes. So with all the scenario details out of the way, we have some pre-game rolls for Agoloth. Both he and Reggie will attempt to cast Brew Potion and create an Elixir of Speed. They need a 15 and 17 on the die, and they both miss it by a large margin. With all the pre-game mumbo-jumbo out of the way, let's roll some turn 1 initiative. Each wizard will roll their die, and it seems Durgareth will get the first go, followed by Agoloth and then Cailana. Durgareth will act alone to start the game, make his way down the steps closer to Agoloth and his warband, and then attempt to cast Summon Demon. This spell is successful on a 12, and a 17 is rolled, spawning a demonic imp to Durgareth's warband. Agoloth will then begin his wizard phase and give the tracker a chance to make some moves and attempt to land an arrow into the just spawned imp. A +3 to a +1 for the imp, and the arrow flies harmlessly over the foul demon. The barbarian will decide to double move and make his way up the right side of the table, heading towards Durgareth and his demonic pals. All the while, the treasure hunter will go next and sprint up the table, double moving and getting into a good position for Agoloth to do some work. The wizard will move up these ruins and cast Leap on the hunter. The spell is successful on a 9, and it is cast. This flings the treasure hunter right up onto the platform with the first treasure. Cailana will start the end of the wizard phase by casting enchant armor on Sir Gareth in front of her, and with a die roll of a 17, she is more than successful. For her second action, she will move up towards these ruins and wait around until the next round. For both of the knights and the treasure hunter, they will all double move this phase, making their way towards the stairs to get up to the next level and hopefully grab some treasure. Terry will then start off the apprentice phase and attempt to copy his master by moving down the steps and then casting the imp spell. This one goes off on a 12, but he rolls a 3 and ends up taking a point of damage for his failure, choosing not to empower the spell. The newfound and capable Reggie will then begin the apprentice phase for Agoloth. He will move up the table near the tracker and then cast Leap onto the barbarian. The spell is successful on an 11, and he rolls an 8, but he will choose to empower the spell. This means the barbarian will fling up onto the steps just in front of the imp and Durgareth, creating a bottleneck and blocking any further descent. And to end the apprentice phase for Agoloth, a couple thugs and a thief will move up the right side of the table as well as make their way towards treasure and most likely their death. Alan will continue things for Cailana, move up the table a bit and get a good visual on the demonic apprentice and attempt to cast Furious Quill on the spellcaster. He needs a big 14 on the die and gets a 3, taking 2 damage in the process for the hard failure. The ranger will then move up on top of the ruins and take a shot at Terry, a +2 to a +0, and the arrow flies by harmlessly. To finish up the phase, the infantryman and thug will split up and start making their way up and around the table. This will complete the apprentice phase, and we head on over to the soldier phase. We have one of Durgareth's imps who will activate this soldier phase and attempt to attack the barbarian, blocking its path. We have a +1 to the barbarian's +4, and the fighter was well placed, dealing 7 damage to the demon, killing it outright. Instead of going through 5 more movements split between Agoloth and Cailana, we'll move all the leftover fighters on the table as you can see here, and then pass over the creature phase because there isn't one to be had in this battle. This will then end Battle Round 1. Spells are being cast, fighters are moving into position, but the real bloodbath has yet to begun. Let's have some turn to initiative, where it seems Cailana will take the first go, followed up by Durgareth. Turn 2 begins with Cailana, who will start the wizard phase by attempting to cast Furious Quill on the demonic Terry. She needs a 12 to be successful, and a 15 will surely do. This means Terry has a handful of negatives added to his stats. To finish things off, Cailana will just move up to some more ruins and pass things over. The ranger sees an opportunity to take advantage of this quill swirling around the demon. He loads his bow and fires an arrow, a +2 to a -2, and the arrow slams into Terry's chest, dealing 9 damage. He isn't looking too good after that one. To end things for Cailana, the knights will pair up and keep on cruising up the table, hoping to get to a platform soon. Durgareth is next for his wizard phase and does not like the barbarian in front of his path. He will take a step back and then attempt to cast Elemental Bolt on the barbarian. A big 14 he needs on the die to guarantee an attack, and a 15 will do. We then have a +7 attack into the barbarian's +4, but the arc of electricity glances off the stone nearby, missing the fighter. This moves things over to Agoloth and the zombie nearby him. The zombie will stay put near Agoloth, but the wizard sees his target, Durgareth. He will cast Bones of the Earth on the opposing wizard. The spell is successful on an 8, and with a 7, Agoloth will take a point of damage to make sure the demon stays put for a round or 2. On over to the apprentice phase now, where Alan and his thug pal nearby will make their way up the table towards the treasure on the left side and pass things over. Terry will then activate and see if this annoying quill dissipates, and on a natural 1, this will not do the trick. Even with a debuff, he will at least try to cast the imp spell once again. He needs a 14 for the spell to be successful, and he gets exactly that, spawning an imp in from the 9 hells. I'm guessing these demons won't be outnumbered for long. On over to Reggie and his nearby tracker. The bow wielder will go first, nock an arrow, and let it loose at the demonic wizard. A +3 to a +2, and with a 19 on the die, a massive 12 damage into Durgareth, and he is on death's door. An unexpected shot from the fighter. Over to Reggie, where he has a cheeky play. He will move over to his nearby group of fighters and turn his focus to Cailana's treasure hunter across the battlefield. He will attempt to cast Bones of the Earth on a 10, and with a 12, the enemy fighter is held in place until those bones are dealt with. Good turn for the necromancers. Over to the soldier phase now, where we have a bunch of activations. We start with the treasure hunter and the bones at his feet. His first action will attack the skeletal hands, a +3 to a +0, and with those two horrible rolls, the bones still exist and the hunter is still stuck in place. The rest of the soldier phase for Cailana will be a number of movements around the table. Each fighter will double move and make his way towards the treasure. Durgareth has an imp in play at the moment, and it will decide to head down and engage the closest fighter, the thief near the tops of the steps. The demon will attack, a +1 to another +1, and the thief comes out on top, dealing 4 damage into the creature. And to finish off the soldier phase, we have a number of activations for Agoloth. Right off the bat, his treasure hunter will pick up the wooden chest. This gives us a die roll for a demon spawning onto the board, and with a 16, a major demon is summoned, and unfortunately for Agoloth, it is right next to his warband. Following this, the barbarian ignores the demon who spawned near his allies. He is another target, and runs up these steps and uses his second action to attack Durgareth. A +4 to the wizard's +2, and they end up tying with totals of 20. That means damage hits both the fighters, eliminating Durgareth from the fight and the raging barbarian down to 5 health. A bloodbath most fitting for a devil and his angry foe. From here, a thug will move up into the major demon and not attack, holding back the red beast. And the rest of the crew will double move around the table, helping out where they can, getting near to a treasure and preparing to get out of this hellhole. This will then end Battle Round 2. Some crazy turn of events in this battle. Durgareth has been defeated and Agoloth and his warband are close to all of the treasures. Let's roll some turn 3 initiative. And it seems Cailana will get the first go, followed by Agoloth. The Enchantress will get the first activation, and she is the only one to have an action with no allies nearby. She will move and get close to her fighters, and then attempt to cast Grenade on the imp up on the higher steps. She needs a 9 for the spell, and she rolls a 2. She elects not to empower the spell, and takes a point of damage for her failure. Agoloth now gets his go. Himself, the apothecary Esmeralda, and the slow zombie will make their way towards the treasure hunter to give him some assistance getting the treasure through the portal. And normally we move over to Durgareth, but he has perished, so we pop on over to Cailana's apprentice phase. Alan has a plan to stop Agoloth from sneaking behind and stealing another treasure. The spellcaster will shift over and attempt to cast the wall spell. It is successful on a 13 and he rolls a 10, but he will empower the spell and make sure that the enemy thief is blocked from reaching the second level. The treasure hunter, still locked in with the bones, needs to get himself out of this pickle. He attacks the skeletal hands, a +3 to a +0, and these bones are extremely powerful, dealing 7 damage into the fighter. To end the apprentice phase for Alan, the couple thugs nearby will either stay put or reposition to give their apprentice a little bit of protection. Reggie and his thug pal are next, and they will move up towards the steps, and then Reggie will attempt to cast Spell Eater to unbind the wall spell in play. He needs a 14, but gets a natural 1 in the process, taking a bit of damage. Not the best roll on his part. The demonic Terry finally gets a chance to go. We will see if this annoying quill is still present, and it finally vanishes from sight. Terry will then attempt to cast Steal Health on Cailana. We will roll the spell and the will save all in one go, and it seems Cailana is too powerful to be bested by a weakened apprentice, and the demon will take a point of damage on the failure. The soldier phase will begin for the Enchantress of the Spark Syndicate, and we have a number of combats to tackle first. The thief and the damaged imp will go at it once again. Another +1 to a +1, and the thief just pushes enough damage through to take out the demon. He will then move up the steps and get to the top of the first platform. The ranger will go next and once again sees his foe standing atop the winding stairs. His arrow flies, a +2 to a +0, and Terry is no longer in this world and the apprentice is taken out. Only 2 warbands remain. On the other side of the table are the infantrymen and 2 knights. The infantryman has just enough movement to run up and attack into the thief, while Sir Gareth and his knight pal will position up the table with their slow movement. For the combat, we have a +3 into a +1, and no damage occurs for either fighter. Agoloth's soldiers finally get a turn, and the barbarian will go first, climb these tiresome stairs and then grab the central treasure. This will spawn a demon once again, not a major one though, and it will appear on the table edge on Cailana's side of the table. And after the demon spawns in, the rest of Agoloth's warband will move around or stay in close combat to potentially hold off any deaths for just a moment or two. Though to finish the round, we have 2 devils to activate. The major demon will attack the thug in front of him. A +5 to a +2, and the thug manages to cut back into its thick hide, dealing 6 damage to the big red beast. The minor demon will now move up the battlefield, and he has just enough movement to get into combat range of Sir Gareth. This will then end battle round 3. A mix of good and bad dice rolls, as well as some strong tactical plays from Agoloth this battle round. Can Cailana manage to steal back some treasure from her necromancer foe? Let's roll some initiative. And it seems the demons will act first in the soldier phase, but Agoloth will truly get the first go. We begin turn number 4 with the treasure bearer, who will double move towards the portal, and then Agoloth himself will give him a little boost with the leap spell. A 9 or higher on the die, and a 15 will easily throw the hunter on top of the ruin out of sight and range of anyone on the battlefield. The zombie will then move up and engage the knight, while the apothecary will stay close to Agoloth and protect him with her life. The treasure hunter near Cailana will finally hope to free himself from the bones at his feet. Again, a +3 to a +0, and it was about time he released his calcium manacles. The hunter will then just move up alongside Cailana closer to Alan. The wizard will also attempt to cast the heal spell onto Alan, who has damaged himself enough. A 12 on the die is needed for the boost in health, but Cailana fumbles again, losing another hit point in the process. Reggie will now start the apprentice phase by moving up the steps for his action and then cast Steal Health on the injured Alan. We'll roll the will save alongside the casting die, and with some empowerment, Reggie manages to do 3 damage to the already damaged Alan, bringing him down to 7 health. The nearby thug will help block fighters moving up to Reggie, and then the thief will do the same. Though it is now Alan's turn for a rebuttal. He will attempt to cast Grenade, targeting Reggie and his nearby allies. The spell is successful on an 11, and the apprentice rolls a 2. Alan is really having a tough day. Though one of his thugs will move forward and attack the enemy fighter. A +2 to another +2, and at least Alan's allies can do some damage, taking the thug down a notch. The rest of the fighters that need to activate near Alan will press forward up to the treasure and not have enough juice to pick it up. This leads over to the soldier phase, and the demons are still present on the table. The major demon will go first and attack the puny thug in front of it. A +5 to a +2, and with a natural 20, the thug is consumed and is just eviscerated on the battlefield. And then the monster has just enough movement to get over to the next tiny thief. The minor demon engaged with Sir Gareth will attack as well. A +3 to a +4, and no damage is done to either fighter. All of Agoloth's leftover fighters will now act. The barbarian will take his treasure down to the edge of the steps as far as his movement allows, while the tracker will position himself below the barbarian. If you haven't already guessed, something wild is going to happen in the next battle round. For Cailana's fighters, we have a few activations. First things first, the thief will run forward and pick up the treasure. This means another demon spawns, and unfortunately for Cailana, it appears on her side of the table once again. Now on to a number of combats. The infantrymen here will attack the thief. A +3 to a +1, and the thief stabs back into his foe, dealing 3 points of damage. The knight will then press into the zombie. A +4 to a +1, and the zombie is beaten down, giving the opportunity for the knight to move up and engage Esmeralda for the next battle round. Also, Sir Gareth will attack the minor demon once again, and the armor is thick on Sir Gareth, dealing no damage. And to finish things off, the ranger will fire an arrow into the demon that just entered the fray. A +2 to a +3, and the arrow passes by harmlessly. This will then end battle round 4. Agoloth is close to claiming 2 treasures, and the demons are pressing into Cailana and her fighters. No good can come of this. Let's roll some initiative, and it seems Agoloth and the leftover demons beat out Cailana once again. Agoloth will start things off himself and start getting the hell out of here. He will double move, heading back to the portal and get himself out of hell. Over to Cailana, who has plans to move up the steps and then cast Fool's Gold on the barbarian holding the treasure. This spell is successful on a 14 and a 6 is rolled, which is a large enough failure to take a point of damage. Following this blunder, the treasure hunter will double move up the stairs and make his way towards the failed spell target with the treasure. Reggie will start off the apprentice phase alone and decide to cast Bones of the Earth on Alan not so far away. He needs a 10 on the die and he gets a 7. He will decide to take the necessary damage to make sure Alan doesn't get to move right away next turn, and then take his movement over the steps and farther away from the action. Alan, constricted by these bones, is forced to fight. Another +0 to a +0, and Alan ends up taking a big 4 damage, getting him knocking on death's door. Things are not looking good for Cailana. The soldier phase will begin for Agoloth as the barbarian will make the play of his life. He is 5 or so inches off the ground, causing him to die if he jumps. But he is loyal to his allies and believes his blind rage will save his life. Turns out, it did not. This will allow the tracker to pick up the treasure and make his way to the glowing portal. The magic and coin close in on the realm gate, and Agoloth will claim his reward.
Reggie, we have done it. Hell has been fought for, and the treasure has been claimed.
Yeah, this is pretty great, good buddy. But I feel kind of bad about the barbarian, and even a little worse about Cailana.
Ignore those trivial people. We now have the power. We now have what we need. This gives us a chance to press on and explore the outer reaches of the world. Nothing can stop us.
I want to thank all of you folks for watching this series, and also give a big thank you to Skirmish Mats. They have been a big help envisioning the ending of this Frostgrave season, and I couldn't have done it without their awesome gaming mats. If you are looking for a discount when purchasing some of their products, use the code DICECHATTER for a spicy 10% off. There you have it, folks, the end of Frostgrave Season 2. I hope you all enjoyed the excitement we have had over these number of months. I wanted to give some closure on this game before I started dabbling into other great tabletop titles. Don't worry, this doesn't mean Frostgrave is going to disappear. It's honestly one of my favorites, but there is so much out there, and I'd personally like to do my due diligence to try out other neat games. And maybe during these future adventures, I can show someone else their next favorite game. I love you all, and I'm happy to have you along for the ride. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, do all the other socials. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching. And of course, happy gaming.